get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me. He's back again. I'm glad he's coming one of my favorite guests. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Not only is he family, but you know, he's a man with great insight and everything like that. So welcome back to the podcast, my cousin Ronald Hayes. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing? Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
What you drinking on tonight?
The usual Fiore vodka.
Huh?
Fiore,
What is it?
I'm sorry. Fiore hemp infused vodka. You got to say it all like a Tribe Called Quest. Local owned is distilled right here in Nashville. Next time you come up, I'm gonna turn you on to it.
Okay, because for those who don't know, I'm gonna start doing some more content on my YouTube channel, and I might need to try that so I can review it on my YouTube channel. So definitely, if not, I'll send you the money. I'll just have you send it to me when you come down, whatever, however much it costs. So definitely, if it's something new, I'm willing to try. Like I said, I'm willing to try new things now, 2023. So with my new content coming out and everything like that, I'll definitely give that a shot. For the night, I'm not really drinking on anything tonight. I'm just drinking on root beer tonight because we got some to talk about. A real serious topic. But before we go any further, I gotta give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Joe Shakinab at shakinab.com. Go visit shakinab.com for services, monthly updates, and contact information. Once again, visit shakinab.com, promoting leadership and scholarship. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. For everybody, I know everybody heard about the news, what happened in Memphis. Excuse me. Tyre Nichols passed away from his injuries sustained by 5 cops. So it's been a lot of protests. There was some rioting going on in Memphis and stuff like that. Before we get into the details through the whole thing, because it seems like more information is coming out. Even when this podcast airs, I guarantee there's going to be more information coming out about this. But because just go ahead and give me your take on what happened and, you know, how you feel about it, just from your perspective.
Really don't know where to begin, cuz first of all, condolences to that young man's family and condolences to the community. It is definitely a horrible thing. I honestly believe in my heart that had that young man lived, these cops would have got away with it. They weren't planning on him dying. And it would have just been another routine stop where the victim resisted and they did what they had to do to apprehend them.
Definitely. I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of late to the party because when I got the news, it was kind of like a few days after the fact. Because I knew it was something going on. I didn't know what the reason was until I found out what it was. I was like, oh man, it's always sad to hear something like this. And like you said, condolences to his family, everything like that. You know, nobody wants to be put in that situation. No family have to go through that situation. Just a little background. Tyre Nichols passed away January 10th, 3 days after he sustained injuries from 5 police officers. They were arrested. So I'm just going ahead and just name off the police officers. To Darius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith, who were all fired on January 20th. After an investigation found they had violated department policy about the use of force, and they were also charged with second-degree murder, 2 counts of official misconduct, 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping, 1 count of official oppression, and 1 count of aggravated assault that the prosecutors announced. Which is hearing that it went from, let's just say, January 7th to January 20th. It went by pretty fast from arresting firing the officers to charging the officers, things like that. How did you feel about that process as a whole? Because usually with something like this, it'll take, how long would it take? Months, maybe?
At least months, 6 months, 8 months, year, whatever. So that just goes to show going forward that once you have the evidence in hand, that it's not a lengthy process. And what a lot of people may not know is that there was a moment where they were actually suspended. Small investigation, then they were fired, then they were charged, then arrested. And all of this happened within a 3-week span.
Yeah.
So if it happens again, which it'll happen again, they can never say that we have to go through all of there's a process. They can never say that.
Definitely.
And I think the police chief did the right thing. She conducted her due diligence. There wasn't a reason to pull him over. There was a lot of violent acts after the fact that they had him handcuffed, and he died.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. When you saw the video, I know you saw the video. Most people probably saw the video. Just from my take first, I'm going to go first on this. I couldn't even really get through the video after he was crying out for his mom. That right there just made me just stop right then and there. But I don't know if you saw, there was a second angle, because that first angle was from the body cam from the officer. There was another camera that was pointing at them from up top. I guess it's from a building directly on them. And like you said, Tyre Nichols was already handcuffed, hands behind his back. And that one officer just kept punching him in the face. And I said, to me, that looked personal. That didn't even look like some official cop. That looked personal to me, to continue to hit a guy who was defenseless. They already had him under control, and you just want to continue to throw, punches at him.
Because I found myself yelling at the television during that part. I was like, shit, stop. Like, quit hitting him like that. You already have him handcuffed. So there isn't anything that they can say or do to justify the violence that took place once they had him apprehended. Now, let's be clear. The Scorpion unit is a unit that was designed to deal with violent offenders, rapists, murderers, carjackers, things of that nature. They conduct a routine stop, from what they say, a routine stop for reckless driving. There's no record of that. They didn't call it in as such, but I said that to say that there may be times when they're dealing with a victim, well, not a victim, when they're dealing with someone they're trying to apprehend, and they have to fight fire with fire. You have to tase him, you got to mace him, you have to do whatever you have to do to get him subdued, get him in cuffs. Once you have him handcuffed, the battle should be over. And the way he was hitting him, threw a couple of haymakers. It's like they swung him around, he walked around, threw a couple of more haymakers. That's aggression. That was some sort of passionate anger that was built up from something, because you don't just hit somebody like that. And let's just say, for instance, you and I are out somewhere and you get into a fight with somebody and you're getting the best of him and that rage takes over and I'm there with you. At some point, my compassion is going to kick in. I'm like, oh, cuz, stop, man. You're about to kill the guy. None of them did that. Nobody intervened like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're carrying this too far.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker of mine earlier today. I said the exact same thing. At least one of the officers could have said, hey, enough is enough. They could have, pulled them to the side, far away, so he could, you're already in trouble as is, but, don't get too much in trouble. But nobody stepped in and basically like, hey, stop. It's enough. We got him. Don't need to go any further. And with that being said, for those who don't know, 2 more officers were actually let go too. One of the officers, his name was Preston Hempfield. He was relieved, and it was a 7th officer that hasn't been identified, but he was also that officer was also let go due to this. This is really hard to talk about because it seems like we keep seeing the same thing over and over again. And it doesn't really matter what the race of the officer is. It just seems like it's just a cop thing. And I just feel like cops are not holding other cops accountable at that moment. I don't know if it's to protect whatever, the shield or whatever, anything like that. But at some point, you could be a good cop, but if you're not holding your other officers accountable for their actions, you're just like them. You might not be doing the actual abuse or whatever that you're doing itself, but in a way you are, because you continue to allow this to happen without really stepping to that officer firsthand.
Complicit. I wholeheartedly agree. You become complicit in the act because you're not doing anything to stop it.
Exactly. And, this story is going to continue to unfold more. But another part of this, too, we got to talk about the EMT responders who actually got fired, too. 3 EMT responders. Their names, Robert Long, Jermichael Sandridge, and Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker. They have been found to have violated multiple department policies in their response, in their patient response to Nichols on January 7th. How did you read that story? What did you get from that part? Because I
don't know what to get from that. Like your job is to render aid and you didn't. So how do we get to the point to where you show up to perform an act and you fail to do so? Was something said to you? Did you decide by looking at him that he's all right or he's gonna be all right or whatever? Like, there's something that's hasn't been exposed yet regarding that.
Yeah, so basically, just a quick backstory of it. This is from, what's the name? If I mess up the name, I apologize. Story by Doha Madani. I guess if I mess up your name, I'm sorry. I apologize. But basically, the statement was their actions on the scene did not meet the expectations of the Memphis Fire Department and are not reflective of the outstanding servicemen and women of the Memphis Fire Department. But what it was that they were sent to the scene of Nichols traffic stop at 8:31 p.m. after police called because of a person pepper sprayed The fire department noted Long, Sandridge, and Whitaker were sent to a second location and arrived to find Nichols leaning against a police vehicle 10 minutes after the call. And it goes on to say Long and Sandridge responded to Nichols while Whitaker and a driver remained in the vehicle, the fire department said. So, furthermore, it said during the investigation, it's concluded that the two EMTs responded based on the initial nature of the call, person pepper sprayed, and the information they were told on the scene and failed to conduct an adequate patient assessment of Mr. Nichols. So basically, like you said, they didn't even really check them out. I'm looking at it. And then when you saw the pictures of him in the hospital, face swollen, at that point, it was like, yo, y'all should have just took that man like, no, we got to get him to the hospital. Y'all clearly see this man was hurt. Y'all know he was. So what's going on here? Like, why are they? I don't know. Maybe there's more questions, more answers to come. But why y'all didn't take this man to the hospital? Clearly, when you see this man was injured. And they called y'all to the scene. So I don't know what it was. I was very disappointed in these three individuals. They lost their jobs as well. And
well, they did take him to the hospital, didn't they? They just didn't render any aid.
Hey,
how did he get to the hospital if they didn't take him?
Well, I guess they took him, but I guess they didn't render, like you said, they didn't render any aid.
Right.
They were supposed to,
right? They just showed up and stood around and cracked jokes.
Yeah.
Water, whatever they were doing. So they didn't get fired for not taking them to the hospital. They got fired for not doing their job, which is to render aid, make sure he was okay. Nobody went over there and took any vitals or any of that. So it just makes me wonder, at what point did they realize we got to get him to the hospital? Like, how did it go from nothing's being done to him winding up in the hospital?
Probably one of the cops just told him to take him to the hospital anyway. That's the only thing I could think. Instead of just, like you said, as soon as you get there, your first initial assessment just to, check him out, render aid right then and there, and then, continue on with the next steps to get him to the hospital. Because what if he would have got to the hospital sooner, rather than what he did?
Or what if they would have rendered some sort of aid? And see, these are things that they would realize. I've been in a car accident before where I was walking around. I felt sore, but I was walking around, and first thing they did, they asked me, "Are you okay?" They put the cuff around my neck. Don't move. Lay on this. We're going to get you to the hospital. And that was like immediately. They did nothing. No one approached him. No one, put the little flashlight in his eyes or any of that. Like, what was the purpose of them even being there if they're not going to do what they were called out there to do?
And the fact that they found Tyre leaning up against a police vehicle, when they arrived, that, I don't know. The whole thing is just
fishy, sketch.
Yeah.
The whole thing is sketch. I mean, did the police tell him that, okay, he's just high, that's why he was punch drunk, but what was the narrative that the police actually drove when the EMTs showed up? And it'll come out.
Yeah.
It'll come out.
So I'm not going to go any further with that. Like I said, more information will always come out as time goes on. And, you're going to have more people react to it and everything like that. But we got to talk about one particular officer, right, who's been floating around the internet, social media world. And first time I saw this was actually on TikTok. I don't know how many different TikTokers with this on there. So I'm just going to read this, and I just want to get your take, all right? is this what I read. I'm reading it word by word. Turns out, and this is the officer I'm talking about is Demetrius Haley, who is 30. So it says it turns out Tyre worked at FedEx, and Demetrius Haley's ex and mother of his child worked at FedEx. Demetrius took a picture of Tyre on the ground and sent it to his ex. All of the officers involved went out bad over this man's personal issue. Tyre and his ex had a relationship. So I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, like I said, when you hear stuff like that on social media, it's not been, confirmed by any credible news source. It's just floating around. But it kind of like, in a way, you kind of see it because, like you said, you go back to the video when he's handcuffed, hands behind his back, and he's continuing to get punched. And when I said earlier, it felt personal. Then you read this, it's like, is this personal because this man is messing with your ex? I mean, she is your ex for a reason.
Let's look at some facts. No, of course we have to use the word allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in any kind of trouble, but let's look at some facts. And facts are, fact number one, you have this patrol unit whose job it is to, like I mentioned earlier, deal with violence, criminals. And the first scene we see of everything jumping off, Tyre's car is blocked in by three squad cars. Have you ever heard of 3 squad cars being called on a reckless driving? Never. 3 squad cars, all 3 squad cars just happen to be in the same neighborhood, a decent neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mind you, all 3 squad cars, all these patrolmen happen to be in the same area at the same time to block this young man in, sitting at a red light with his blinker on. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never seen anybody recklessly driving and take time out to put their blinker on.
I never heard of that either.
That is antithetical of reckless driving. Then you see them walk up, snatch him out of the car.
Yeah.
They're not saying why, they're not conducting the regular routine traffic stop. I need your license, I need your insurance, I need your registration. None of that. They're snatching them out the car. He's asking them what they're doing. Or not what they're doing, what did he do? He's questioning why they snatching him out of the car.
What he should ask for.
Right. And then they have an opportunity. They could have had him cuffed then. They had one of his wrists. It's 4 or 5 of them.
Right.
And it almost looks like, again, stating facts, but it almost looks like they wanted him to get away so that they could chase him. Think about that for a minute. Then I'm listening to, I've gone through a lot of footage with this case. So I was listening to the scanner call. One of the officers called it in. And this is when the foot chase was taking place. And the young man was just trying to get home. He was like 3 blocks from his house. And the officer clearly says, what's his address? Now, if you're pulling somebody over for a routine traffic stop, you already know that. Once they run your tags, you already know that. So they didn't run his tags before they pulled him over. Then fast forward to where they're assaulting him, they got him cuffed, and they kicked him in the face. The one officer that appears to be Demetrius Haley, gotta say that. kicking him in the face while he's down, punching him, like throwing blows, punching him. That seemed like, again, an act of passion. So if that, I'm not saying that story is right, but it sounds right. So far, it sounds like it's tracking. We could be wrong, but what else? There isn't any other explanation, or to me, any other explanation as to how we got from them being where he was to killing him. None of it makes sense.
It don't make sense. Just what I read, it kind of lines up with what happened. Like you said, like I said, like you said, allegedly.
Now,
I don't think we'll find out what it is later, but like you said, it kind of seems like on that track. But also too, man, it kind of seems like when you see it, it seems like that emotion and that anger got the best of him.
rage.
Because I'm gonna read something else to you in a second, but it's just like I don't want to compare it. I think I heard some people compare it to like Rodney King's situation and everything like that. When clearly he was on camera, he was getting beaten without basically resisting, right? Of course, for those who don't know, if you're like younger than me, y'all could actually go back and Google, do the research. But the officers was found not guilty. Of course, that led to the riots out there. And even though Rodney King got paid, it's still the fact that justice wasn't really truly served in a sense. Now with this one, like you said, you gave Memphis credit for doing his due diligence and really doing an investigation and going about it the right way. But here's more some alleged information on Demetrius Haley. And this is coming from Hope Sloop. I hope I said the last name right, for dailymail.com. Allegedly, when he was a corrections officer, he assaulted a prison inmate. And I guess there's a lawsuit in the works. Allegedly assaulted a prison inmate. I don't know what this whole situation is with him. Like I said, maybe he just got some anger issues to where maybe he shouldn't even be in a position of authority, in the way he abuses authority in some type of way. But something like this before he got on the force and everything like that should have been found out or probably was kept secret. Probably kept secret, and then they let him on the force anyway.
Well,
and
we really don't know the ins and outs of the alleged assault when he was a corrections officer. And I've been behind the wall, and I know how them folks get down back there. So that's that's speculation. One thing I do want to mention is going back to him and his passion for, the way his rage kicked in and the alleged story of the ex. I'm watching on TikTok and there were still pictures from another officer's body cam where this man had his phone in his hand. And it appeared that he was taking pictures. That's another story. So if all of this is true, then that was a targeted personal vendetta, and it confirms motive and malicious intent. That's murder one.
So you think the prosecutors can upgrade it to Murder One?
Absolutely. If the facts come out, Murder One is malicious intent, the aforethought. I plan to go out here and do this. That's Murder One. Murder Two is you kill somebody, but you didn't plan on killing anybody.
Right.
So yeah, if the facts come out, then they can very easily upgrade it to one. Murder One.
I could see that happening, but that's up to the prosecutors if they want to go that route. So all we can do now is just stay tuned, be on the lookout for more information, see what the prosecutor's going to do. And also too, with the parties involved, the 4 other officers who were charged. Let's see what's going to happen with that, because you never know. You never know. Like, as time keeps going on, some might take a plea deal. Some might, I got a feeling that somebody's going to roll on somebody.
Yeah, somebody's going to sing like Betty Wright. Betty Wright. Write down a statement and slide it across the desk. Try to get immunity. I'm telling you, I see that, because I don't see the other 4. Like I said, if the story tracks, I don't see the other 4 taking all of that heat.
No.
For this one guy. Somebody gonna sing.
Yeah.
Plus, they know what can happen to them behind that wall.
Exactly.
The policeman.
So, with that being said, do you think because I haven't heard anything. Like I said, it might come out, might not. Do you think those 3 EMT workers should be charged with anything?
What can you charge them with? Out of all of the charges that these officers have, murder 2, the kidnapping, the oppression, the assault, what can you actually charge these EMT workers with other than failing to render aid? And that's not a charge. That's just them not doing their job, and they received as much punishment as they're going to receive for that, which is they lost their job.
Okay.
I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, but were they even on the scene to witness any of that?
No.
So there's really nothing that they can be charged with.
Now, with the like I said earlier, 2 more officers were let go. One of the officers was not named, so that situation already raises eyebrows for me. But the other one, again, Preston Henfield, he was let go, but he was never charged with anything. I think he was also on the scene, if I remember correctly. I think he was on the scene as well. I don't know, like,
it's a race issue. I mean, do you think there's a reason that these little piggies went to market and this little piggy went home?
It could be, or I'm not going. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say this. I think, in a way, allegedly, I think he saved himself. During an investigation, did internal investigation, and this one is hard because they didn't charge him, but they charged the other 5 officers.
But did they actually see him out of all 5 of these charges? And keep in mind, I'm not taking up for the guy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. In a perfect world, he should catch everything that these other officers got, excuse me. But it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And we saw the other officers abuse their authority.
Yeah.
Abuse their power and put hands on this man. Now, Hemphill, is that his name, Hemphill? He was on camera, or you could audibly hear him saying, kick him or stomp him or whatever he was saying, I guess egging it on. But outside of him tasing him, putting pepper spray in his face or whatever, what else did we actually see him do?
Nothing.
I mean, when he got to the second location after they beat him to a pulp, where was he? Like, how long did it take for him to get there? So again, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Like, what exactly out of those 5 charges, what can they actually charge the man with? By law.
By
Because
law,
you don't want to just throw charges out there and hoping something sticks.
Right.
That's why, I mean, that's part of the reason why they probably hit him with murder 2. They didn't have enough information to hit him with murder 1. You hit him with murder 1 and don't have all the facts, they're gonna walk, all 5 of them. All they gotta do is stick to their story and be quiet.
Right.
So there's really, unfortunately, nothing that they could charge him with. If you think of something, let me know. I'm curious. I would love to see him go down with the rest of them.
Yeah.
I just right now at this point, I don't see how.
I don't see how either. That's why I was like, at first when I was saying it, then I kind of like stopped myself because I was like, excuse me. I was like, what can they do with this? Now I was like, hold on, let me stop midway through, because what you just said, when I saw it, I really didn't see him do anything else. Like you said, it was really the other 5 officers who, that you saw on camera, doing all of that stuff. Now, this 7th officer, they haven't named him. I don't know if they will ever name him, will ever put his name out there. But again, 7 total officers have been let go. 3 EMTs have been fired as well. So this story is going to continue. I know a lot of people are going to continue to talk about this. I know, what's the lawyer's name? Ben Crump. Yeah, Ben Crump. Yeah, he's everywhere. He is everywhere. If something goes down, he is there. He was talking to D.L. Hughley, and D.L. Hughley brought up a question. I guess they're trying to find like a permanent host to the was it the Daily Show? Mm-hmm. Yeah, since Trevor Noah left. So they've been going, trying to find hosts, but D.L. Hughley was a guest host, and he asked Ben Crump, did race play a factor in the process of, from firing the officers to charging the officers? Did it play effect? And, I could tell, like, Ben Crump basically said yes without saying yes, the way he answered the question. But he also said something too, the fact that hopefully, regardless of, your race and everything like that, this is the process that should happen, and all the police departments should follow this process. So, yeah, once again, man, this is a very sad story, and it seems like this is happening more times than not. With the encounter between, the civilians and police officers, especially, Black men and women and police officers. So,
what do you think? You think race played a factor
in the arrest?
And the whole, in all of it. And
And
before
all
you
of it,
answer, keep in mind, we've always been against police brutality, period.
mhm.
It doesn't matter what your race is. Police brutality is completely wrong. So with that being said, do you think Memphis was setting the precedent, or do you honestly think race was a factor?
I think two things could be true, but I think more so than anything else, I think this. Now this is just me personally saying this. I think race did play a factor in this. I'm just going to be honest, and
Police chief is black.
but yeah, the police chief is black. You know what I mean? But it, even with that being said, with the process and how they moved through this, as quickly they moved through it, I think race in a way kind of had a play in that. To be honest, now they could have they also too are like setting the tone. Hopefully other excuse me, other cities and everything would take note on how to do this, because the way they done it, I think they done it the right way.
Now, with what you just said about them setting the tone, have you noticed that the proponents for Back the Blue have been silent?
I noticed that.
That a race thing?
I think so.
That a race thing, is that the precedent? I mean, I've not one time have I read any of the pundits stating had he only complied.
I think I only heard one person to say that, but not like the vast majority like you'll bring up.
Yeah,
but,
not like Derek Chauvin.
Yeah.
Not like that. Let's say not like George Floyd or Castile, Mike Brown, any of them.
Yeah. So that's actually a good point.
But does Back the Blue only work when you're a certain race?
Possibly.
Something to think about. I mean, everything that has happened, we've seen police brutality time after time after time. And this is the first time we've seen not only the fact that they went, again, less than 3 weeks from having a job to getting arrested and everything in between, to no support from the brethren in blue.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
That, which is another layer to all of this that you just brought up. And, you got a lot of people comment on this. I don't know if before we get out of here, I just got to ask you, are you a big Jason Whitlock fan, or you don't really care too much about him? I don't know if you actually remember.
Let me find the best way to say this. I don't wish death on anybody, but I could find pleasure reading somebody's obituary. Jason Whitlock falls into that category because he is worse than Tim Scott, Candace Owens, Ye, all of them. To me, he's just the rhetoric that he spits is just pure venom that doesn't even make sense. And I try to have an open mind about everything. I try to view things from another vantage point. If I'm speaking with somebody, like, okay, I don't agree with you, but I see why you see it the way you see it. there isn't anything he says that I can see why he would see it the way he sees it. Like, don't bash single mother. This isn't a situation where you should use that to bash single black women, single black mothers. That's just lower the low.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. That's why I asked about Jason Willock in that statement he made about that. Me personally, I never was a fan of Jason Willock, even as a sports journalist. As a sports journalist, I never really cared about him. You know, his take on sports, I never really, I just didn't like it. Certain sports journalists, I appreciate, and some is like, I don't understand why you even a sports journalist at all. And then he goes to talk. He basically left the sports world, started his own thing where he's talking more social and political issues. And so I don't know the name of his show now. I don't even watch it. But that statement, and he made more statements similar to that. Anyway, I was like, okay, at that point, that they ain't got nothing to do with single mothers.
Nothing. You're using it to drive the narrative of your political views against Black people. You're like the worst enemy. You're one of us, and you're going against us on every single thing you say. And
yeah.
He realized that he can make more money. I mean, he got kicked off Fox Sports, which is still owned by Fox, but he realized you can make more money spewing rhetoric. There's an audience for that. There's an audience that says we are progressive and systemic racism doesn't exist because here is a Black man, an African-American man, that's saying systemic racism doesn't exist. So if a Black man says it, then obviously that's enough evidence to support our theory.
Yeah, that's you're right about that. You're right about that. The content and the rhetoric that you spit out, we know the business side of it. We know the business side of it. You know, you spewing that things out to gain viewerships, to get your sponsors from certain people and everything like that. We get this the business side of it, but at that point, you're selling out your own people for what exactly? Money? Is it acceptance? Is it, what are you going after?
Certain people are really, really, and I know this is kind of taking an exit ramp, but certain people are really doing whatever they can so that they can be accepted by certain people that would not accept you if you didn't say the things you said, if you didn't think the way you thought. Do you honestly think he would be, if he ever said anything against conservatism, do you honestly think that he would still have his fan base?
No, definitely.
And you can't come back here. We good over here. You can go on and stay over there.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're on the left or the right, that's your decision. But, at some point, if you're going to speak the truth, speak all the truth. Don't just speak, against one side. So you could just, still be cool with the side that you want to be on. I don't really like all of that. It seems like you're hating yourself for
exactly what he's doing,
for the way you look. And I'm like, what's the problem? Was you teased a lot as a kid? Did you, what's going on? It seems like
I actually went on his Facebook page and asked him, who hurt you? Like, dude, seek therapy. Like, for real, there's some inner pain in there.
Yeah.
Now, that's, with others, Candace Owens, you can see where she switched, because she went from suing a school board for racism to saying racism doesn't exist. So, she's just literally following the dollar.
Yeah.
Whitlock.
And does he live in Nashville too?
He does. No, she don't live in Nashville. I think she lives in
like Brentwood or something like that.
Yeah, Brentwood, Bellevue, somewhere like that. She doesn't live in Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah, okay.
She may be in Davidson County somewhere, but she ain't in Nashville. Brentwood is not Nashville. Bellevue is not Nashville.
Y'all remember that Brentwood, Bellevue is not Nashville.
Not Nashville.
What's that say? What that had that thing in Atlanta? Like, this ain't Atlanta, that ain't Atlanta.
Marietta is not Atlanta. Decatur is not Atlanta. All of that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's like you said, some people they just follow the dollar, and some people they just don't like themselves apparently. So, just like you said, if you're gonna do you, but don't switch.
You don't have to hurt me to do you.
Yeah.
You don't have to dim my life for yours to shine brighter. And that's exactly what he's doing. You feel the way you feel, knock yourself out, but you don't have to dog your people to get your point across. And that's exactly what he does every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, we could have make an argument of 2-parent households, and some of those kids go to the schools and shoot up the schools. So, it's not like we're dogging the 2-parent household, but we're kind of like just like, it's just an argument that single parents are not they're not responsible for what's going on. He said single mothers.
Yeah, but he didn't say single parents.
He said
took
single
a
mothers.
shot at Black women.
Yeah, that's what he did.
He took 2 shots at Black women. That was the indirect shot. And then he took the direct shot talking about the entire Scorpion unit because it was headed by a woman. He took two direct shots at Black. Well, one direct, one indirect, but he still took shots at Black women.
It's like you just don't like Black women in a sense. No, he said some things about other women too, not just Black women. He even said some things too. He might not just like women. He don't like women of power. I don't know. In position of power.
Maybe that's it. Because
he done said some things, and I'm like, all right, dude, there's something wrong with you. I mean, like, instead of acknowledging their accomplishments and what they're doing and everything like that, and bad enough, you got a lot of fathers out here who are not being fathers to their kids, and you got these women raising the kids by themselves. You just want to take a shot at them. Like, dude, you could talk about the situation at hand, but you could leave that part out.
But if he just talked about the situation at hand, he wouldn't get the sponsorships, the money, the popularity. These things go hand in hand with this guy.
He won't go viral.
These are the things he has to say in order to keep himself relevant.
I think that's the sad part too. Like, you gotta say demeaning stuff about people just to stay in the spotlight. So hey, that's your choice. You gotta deal with the consequences of your choice. That won't never be me, because I'm not that type of guy. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to do that for $1, then go ahead. But at some point, that's gonna run out. And what you gonna do after that? You can't go to BET because they ain't gonna want you.
Do you honestly think it's gonna run out?
I think
I don't think so, because there's a lot of division in this country.
I think he's going down a hole that's even gonna be so far for even his own little fan base, or he could get, was it? Because the social media and like all these different platforms, they could basically get rid of you in terms of what's that called?
Cancel culture.
Well, not cancel culture, but was it shadow ban in a sense. So like you have this one guy, I saw him on TikTok. He had his own show. He had been on YouTube for a very long time, and he has millions of subscribers, right? Doing the same content, by the way, like the political, social stuff, his own YouTube show. But he noticed recently that his plays, his analytics, all that stuff started going down. And with his fan base and everything like that, they, how you go on YouTube and they have the suggestions, or if you're subscribed to somebody, that will let you know this person got a new video uploaded. It wasn't even popping up on their stuff. So in a sense, it's kind of like they're taking away his platform in a way. And I know with a lot of people who are consuming a lot of content on platforms like Facebook and even on YouTube now, more so than they do on this regular TV, because, a lot of people ain't got time to go check it out. So they can always check the episode out on YouTube. They do that. They could easily like, you know what? We ain't going to put this in the forefront. We just going to dwindle the number of viewers to where you're kind of like non-existent.
Eventually phase himself out.
Yeah, eventually.
That's YouTube. There's always going to be a place. There's always going to be a platform or a social media place for you to spew your rhetoric. Always. If YouTube starts to shadow ban them, as you say, then there are other sites out there that would welcome his content. There's an audience for that.
Yeah.
And that audience is huge.
Yeah.
You tell yourself the same lie over and over, it becomes your truth. When you told the same lie over and over, it becomes your reality. When that reality is spread, it becomes the culture.
Mm. Yeah.
So there's a place for that. I mean, if a man can actually say that the mass shooting at Sandy Hook didn't exist.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And still had a job. I mean, he got the shit suit out of him. Let's make sure we're clear. But he still
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Alex Jones still has a fan base.
Yeah.
Alex Jones still has a popular podcast. Alex Jones' name is still prevalent in those circles because of the rhetoric he spits. Rush Limbaugh said some of the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. And he still had a fan base.
Right.
So there's a fan base for all of that. May not be YouTube, but they can find another soft place to land with their rhetoric. Easily.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about it. You got companies who are starting buying up these shows now to put them on their platform. So, yeah, I know one guy got offended about the money he was offered, and that's a whole nother thing. But like you said, it's always going to be somebody to pick up, your platform and put it on that platform. Just like how BET picked up the game and, just another platform, which we're not going to talk about that. But we're coming to the end of the episode, man. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Y'all make sure y'all tune in next week, man, because we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, man. The Chiefs and the Eagles, man. Super Bowl, man. It's going to be hopefully it's going to be a great game. I know a lot of people probably already picked the team who they think is going to win, but we're going to talk about that next week on Drinking After Dark. So, Ron, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the last word before we get up out of here. Let them know where they can find you at, your social media, anything else you want to say, man. The floor is yours.
Well, so I'm on all platforms, not only me, but the company, Infinite Hustle. We're on IG, Facebook, all social media platforms. Again, it's always a pleasure to come on this show and have factual conversation. And I thank you once again for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And that whatever you, what's that thing you're drinking on? I'll ask you one more time.
Fiore hemp infused vodka.
And you said that's local?
Yeah, it's local. Fiore hemp infused vodka.
Okay. I'm gonna hit you up sometime and I'm gonna try that. And like I said, I got more content coming on I'm gonna expand on my content on my YouTube page. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna give my honest review on it. Once again, y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And y'all please make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. And all new episodes are uploaded every Friday right here on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, I'm your boy Darius from Drinking After Dark, and we out. Peace.
Gotta get to the money, gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and me. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money, get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids and they. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.